Hello and welcome back to Let the Stone Speak. I'm Brent Nagtegaal, the host of the program. I'm here in Edmond, Oklahoma, where we continue to have our exhibit, Kingdom of David and Solomon Discovered. If you're anywhere in the neighborhood here in the southern United States, please do come by and see us, where you'll find 46 artifacts from the 10th century BCE. It's a very rare exhibit and it's here for another couple of months, so please do make your way out here. I'd also like to encourage you to receive our magazine, Let the Stone Speak, a free magazine about biblical archaeology that comes out 6 times per year. You can simply go to our website, armstronginstitute.org, and sign up for a copy there. But for today's program, I'm going to still stay in the 10th century, but this time a little bit later, the time period of King David's grandson, that being Rehoboam. The Bible talks about Rehoboam fortifying numerous cities in Judah, one of those cities being Lachish. This is ancient Israel, or Judah's, I should say, second most important city. It's been well excavated over the past century, but excavations continue there as recently as last year under the leadership of Professor Yosef Garfinkel of Hebrew University. And I was just up in Boston for the American Schools of Overseas Research annual conference, where about 850 archaeologists and historians presented of all different manner of topics over 4 days. Professor Garfinkel was there presenting on Lachish, and on the sidelines of the conference I got to sit down and speak with him about his latest discoveries from there. So for today's program, please enjoy the interview. Professor Yosef Garfinkel, thank you very much for coming on our show.
It's my pleasure.
So the last time I spoke to you about Lachish, it was actually at the site with you. And I think it might have been after the first or second season of your returned excavations. A lot has happened since then. You've done more excavation. We would like to talk about that with you today and some of the results from that. But first, if you could tell us why Lachish is important to the history of largely Israel and Judah.
Lachish was a major site in the southern part of Israel. In the Canaanite era, it was a major city-state, and we have letters sent from the king of Lachish to the pharaoh in Egypt, in the El Amarna archive. Then Lachish has been destroyed, okay, and we have a biblical reference that the people of Israel destroyed Lachish. The last Canaanite city of Lachish was level 6, and then the whole area was deserted, and Lachish was not occupied for nearly 200 years or so.
And by level 6, you mean the different cities that are built one on top of each other.
Yeah.
The top one, level 1, would be the most recent,
Exactly.
and then going down to level 6.
Level 1 is Persian.
Okay.
Level 2 to 5 are from the time of the kings of Judah.
Okay.
Then we have the gap.
Okay.
And then you have the Canaanite cities, which is 6, 7, and further down.
Okay.
Okay, so level 6 has been destroyed, the site has been abandoned, and after 200 years or so, the site was reoccupied. And now the big question is about level 5. When it was occupied, and what was the character of this level? In the past, people said that there was debate if it's a village or a fortified city. And another debate was about the chronology. Some people said that Lachish was fortified in the 10th century, others said in the 9th, and there was even scholars who said that Lachish was fortified only in the 8th century BC.
So you went back there, level 5 had been discovered before you, but the nature of that settlement was under debate, as well as the dating of it, if I'm correct.
Exactly. Anyhow, so we came to Lachish already in 2013 to 2017, and we have 5 excavation seasons. And we located a city wall which was not known before, and it's relating to level 5. And we have radiocarbon dating, which says that it's the last part of the 10th century BC, around 930 BC to 860 BC. And then on top of it, we have level 4.
Okay, so this is critical, this period, because of how it interplays with the biblical text as well. And this was one of your research questions originally.
Exactly. So there is a biblical tradition that King Rehoboam fortified Lachish, together with 15 cities altogether. And so you have here a list of cities fortified by Rehoboam in the later part of the 10th century BC. And there was debate about the historicity of this list, if it's really from the time of Jeroboam or maybe other period and other kings, as has been suggested by various scholars. anyhow, what we can say today is that the list of Rehoboam fortifications in 2 Chronicle 11 has historical memories, and Lachish was indeed fortified by the time of Rehoboam.
So perhaps you can talk about some of the layout of the city during the time of Rehoboam. How big was it? Perhaps the general context of where these cities are located in that list of 15, so perhaps why he fortified them as well?
Okay, when we came in our first period, 2013 to 17, we concentrated on the northern part of the site. And indeed, we found level 5 with houses and floor, city wall, and we have radiocarbon dating. But it was very limited exposure.
Okay.
And when we came back in 2022, 23, and 24, we enlarged the excavation in the north, and we have now 80 meters exposure of the city wall, and we have 4 storage buildings abutting the city with pillars. Each one of them has pillars. Then we have a small alley separating the public area, and from the alley further to the west, we have private houses. So we really have here administration, fortification, and urban planning.
And this was, it was interesting, I think, because when you went there to find this, you kind of picked a certain location in the Tel, hoped for the best based on other considerations, and what others couldn't find, the city wall, you were able to find within that first season. What led you to dig in that certain location?
This part of the site is closer to the river. And the river is the main source of water. The valley is the main source for land for agriculture. And caravans and trade will be done on routes in the valley. So I thought that the valley is the most important. You know, when the people of Lachish look around them, the valley was the focus of attention. So I started excavating near the valley.
And so you found it there, and then it's interesting because later on in the seasons, you mentioned this in your lecture because you presented Lachish here at ASOR. You mentioned one of your assistants, one of your students that's worked with you for a long time, and how he had another idea as well at seeing just how big the city could be from level 5.
So level 5 was a bit excavated by previous expeditions in the west side of Lachish and also in the south part of Lachish.
Okay.
But none of them found any city wall, and that's why it was under debate.
Right.
If it's a fortified city or a village. So we found a city wall in the north. And because it was not found in other part of the site, I assumed that it was a smaller city.
Okay.
That first they built a smaller city, and later the old site, the old Tel area, was fortified in level 4. So it was a logical assumption, because first of all, you don't have the city was elsewhere.
Right.
And then we have this pattern in other biblical sites, like Hatzor. In the 10th century BC, only part of the Tel of Hatzor was occupied, and later the whole area was occupied. You have the same pattern in Tirza, Tel Farah north. You have it in sites like Tel Natzbe, and even Bet Shemesh. So it's logical that people didn't start immediately to build a large city. They started with rather a smaller one, and over time, when you have more population, more resources, the city expanded over a larger part of the site. So this was my assumption. Okay, you mentioned my assistant. He's not assistant anymore. He's a professor by himself,
right.
Professor Hu-Goo Kang from Seoul, and he a Korean student. Okay, and he thought that Lachish should be bigger from the beginning.
So he's more maximalist than you are.
Exactly. So he was looking at the southern side of Lachish on the slope of the Tel.
So this is the total opposite side
Yes,
from where
we
you
are
were.
in the north, he's in the south.
Right, okay.
He saw a very massive wall built from stones, and he started excavating it in 2022, and it turned out to be late bronze. So this wall belonged to the Canaanite era, very massive stone structure. Then he went 50 meters to another wall, which he saw in the slope of the side.
So he didn't give up after one season?
No, you shouldn't, and we never gave up after 1 or 2 seasons. You need to. Anyhow, the other wall was even higher a bit, which is logical.
Right.
If the Canaanites is level 6, 7, 8, and level 5 is higher, so also the fortification basically should be higher. So he excavated this wall already in the end of 2022, but only very small segments, so nothing was conclusive. In 2024, we have an excavation season in this area.
So just this year, you went back.
Yes.
And
You know, there is a war in Israel, and all the universities that
Right.
joining us year after year couldn't send students. But luckily enough, there was a group of guys from Brazil,
okay,
Adventists
okay,
from Brazil. And they came to Israel for 2 weeks, and their plan was to excavate 5 days at Lachish. So we were about 23 people in the expedition, and for 5 days we enlarged the area, and we found beautiful results. We have level 1 Persian on top, and then the city wall, and level 5 immediately under.
So in this part of the area, level 2, 3, 4, they're not preserved? Is it?
Either they were not preserved, or the area was not occupied in this specific period. Maybe the city wall was a bit inside and not outside. I don't know. We were on the edge of the site, and that's what we have. How to explain it, why we don't have this period or that period, currently I don't have any specific idea.
But directly underneath it?
This was God will that we'll find level 5 in an easy way.
So we'll show over the top just the satellite or the aerial shot of this, because it is very close to the surface that you would come down and find this wall straight away. So the nature of the city wall in the south and the nature of the city wall in the north, are they compatible? Or
Yes, they are exactly the same width. And we hardly have city walls built from stones in Lachish.
Okay.
In this period. We have level 1 and level 2 were built from stone. Level 4 and 5 we have mud brick wall,
Okay.
and then Canaanite is much lower. So while we have a city wall built from stones, the only candidate is level 5. But this is not the dating is not based on
Based
this.
on what it looks like.
We have a floor level running up to the city wall, and the pottery from the floor is characterized pottery of level 5. This have a special distinct decoration.
Okay.
The vessels, the decorated vessels were covered with red slip, and theirs were hand burnished.
Hand burnished instead of on a wheel, which would
Yeah,
give it
the
more
wheel burnished
even-
appear later in level 3 and 2.
Okay. So what, do you have any idea of the time period between level 5 and level 4? That's a substantial period, if I'm not mistaken. So what happened after?
It's about, it's the level 5 city wall, and the level existed for about 70 years.
Okay.
Because we know that it's end at around 860 according to radiocarbon dating, but then level 4 started at around 860 till about 800 BC. And then you have level 3 till 701 when it has been destroyed by Sennacherib.
Okay. So in terms of like how we would adjust the biblical narrative to this, you mentioned these cities that Chronicles says that Rehoboam fortified, Lachish being one of them. Has this period been found at these other sites that are mentioned in that list, or is this kind of the first exploration into this idea?
It's basically the first city that is clearly built in the time of Rehoboam. The list of cities mentioned Hebron,
Okay.
and few sites around Hebron, but they were not excavated.
Okay.
Then it mentioned some site near Bet Shemesh, like Eshtaol, Ayalon in Bet Shemesh. So these were not excavated. And then south to the Shfela, they mentioned another few sites, and Lachish is one of them.
Okay. So this is, I think people will be fascinated to know that there's so many unexcavated sites. That probably some of those sites are known to people with the biblical narrative. And yet still, even though Israel is one of the most excavated places in the world, there's plenty of places left for discovery. So why is, do you think, I know it's kind of maybe outside of your archaeological study, but why is Rehoboam fortifying these cities on the edge, the southeast edge, you believe?
I think that there is a tradition that Pharaoh Shishak came to this region and he made a voyage and many sites in the kingdom of Israel, or what's going to be the kingdom of Israel, are mentioned. And in Judah, we don't have too many places, but like Gibeon is mentioned in the list, and this was part of Judah. And this was in the 5th year of Rehoboam.
Okay.
So I think that after this campaign, he understood, that the kingdom has no real fortification and the border is open to every invasion. So he decided to take this and to initiated a fortification system in the kingdom.
So, as far as some of the more like perhaps the small finds, metal objects, weights, is this the typical material culture that you find there of a Judean site rather than what you would perhaps say would be a Philistine site?
It's clearly not Philistine because we don't have the Philistine pottery of this period,
Okay.
but we have the Judean pottery. So this is not under debate. And also Lachish continued from level 5 to 4 to 3 and 2. So it was a Judean city from the beginning of the Iron Age. This is not under debate.
Okay. So this means that, Lachish, how far is Lachish from Jerusalem? I can't.
2 days walk.
It's 2 days walk, and already by Rehoboam's time, it's at least that big. He's not typically known as a great builder, apart from the account in Chronicles. We would relate Solomon to that as far as the biblical account goes. But with this discovery that you've made at Lachish, do you think, elevate Rehoboam, perhaps Rehoboam's kingdom?
I know that Rehoboam has very bad PR in the Bible.
Yes.
But after all, maybe it was easier to control when you had to control the whole land. Maybe it's harder when you control only Judah. Maybe it was easier, and then you understood that he has to do some activities, to establish the kingdom.
So I know that once you make a big discovery like this, then there's typically others that will come in and look at your research and kind of question it, see if there's any holes. What has been the response to your discovery of level 5 here with the city wall?
When we excavated only the northern part, of course, minimalist scholars debated if this is really a city wall. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons we came back, because we enlarged the area, and now we have 80 meters of this level in the north. And thanks to the 2024 season, we also have the southern part of the site with the fortification. So this is a great discovery. Another thing that we are just working on is the radiocarbon dating. Mm-hmm. We first dated level 5 according to 4 radiocarbon dating only.
Okay.
But since then we sent more, and now we have from Lachish about 20 radiocarbon dating from level 5. So it will probably take half a year or so. We will write a big article summarizing everything we know about level 5, and we will publish the radiocarbon dating.
Right.
And together this will be
that'll be
important
contribution. So I think in your presentation, I believe you had part of that already presented, some of those dates. Is that correct? But
yes, I presented the list of all the date, a chart with the date.
Okay.
Everybody could see them, but these were not published.
Okay, so that hasn't been out in print yet.
It takes time. We excavate, then we analyze, then we need to read it, then it's published. Every one of these stages takes time.
Absolutely. But you're considered to be fast, though. You just showed me a book, maybe I'll put it on the screen, that you've been working on. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about that, the book that you've just completed.
Okay, when I start working at Lachish, I want to know what's happened before me. So right. I start looking for information about the first expedition to Lachish, which was conducted from 1932 to 1938.
Okay.
And they have great results, but also a tragic event, because the director of the excavation, James Leslie Starkey, was murdered on the 10th of January 1938 in his way to Jerusalem for the opening of the Rockefeller Museum. And this was the period of the Arab revolt, mm-hmm. the local Arab-Palestinian revolt against the British mandate from 1936 till the Second World War.
Right.
So people assume that he was murdered because it was a period of instability.
Right.
But most of the shooting and episodes that happened were on the main road from Hebron to Jerusalem. And he was murdered on a side road leading to Hebron. So it was not very logical that somebody will try to do ambush in such a road that, you can wait days and nobody will pass.
Right.
So I start looking not only the murder of Starkey, but the entire data on the expedition. It took me 11 years.
Wow.
And altogether I wrote a biography of the expedition. It's not a biography of Starkey, it's a biography of the expedition. But one of the amazing things that I discovered, that the landowner of Tel Lachish didn't let him excavate the site. He came with huge amount of resources. He could hire 160 people. He was excavated 6 months a year.
Wow.
And he excavated around the site and cemeteries, and he found a famous Canaanite temple at the bottom of the site, but he couldn't excavate the city. So and he tried to convince them, and you see, he visited the village and so on and so forth. Nothing helped. And then in the middle of the second season, one night, the landowner came to the camp, to the exhibition camp, and they were ready to sell it.
Oh, wow.
They want 160 pound for the land. And he was so happy, he gave them immediately half without bargaining.
Wow.
And this was his mistake.
Because now they want more.
Because in the Near East, when you go to and make a deal, you need to bargain. And he didn't bargain because he was exhausted.
Right.
But because he didn't bargain, the landowner thought that they should ask for more.
Right.
So after 3 days, they repeated the agreement, but they didn't give him the money.
So they repeated the agreement. What do you mean?
They didn't allow him to excavate. They said, we don't agree.
Okay.
But they didn't give the money.
Didn't give the money back.
Yeah, they didn't give the money back, and they didn't let him excavate. And now think about the situation. Palestine is under British control.
Right.
The British controlled the entire world in the time. The sun never sunk above the British Empire. And 3 families in a remote village has this chutzpah, has this unheard of action. So the High Commissioner of Palestine expropriate the land of Tel Lachish.
Okay.
And Stark had to pay 210 pounds to the treasury of Palestine for compensation to the landowner.
Okay.
But this compensation was not paid on time. And you can see that there are events that they are telling Starkey what's happened more or less with the rest of the payment, and he applied the Department of Land, which was responsible for the expropriation and the compensation, and it didn't work. The bureaucracy didn't work, and I think that Starkey was murdered because the money was not paid. In the end, the British paid the landowner only in 1947. This is 15 years more or less after the expropriation.
Right. Well, that book is that book available for sale now, or?
It's called a book called Colonial Archaeology in Palestine in the 1930s, the first expedition to Lachish.
Okay.
It was published by the Israel Exploration Society.
Okay.
And if you look at the website, Israel Exploration Society, it's possible to buy the book online.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your time. Good to catch up with you. I haven't been in Israel for the past 10 months. I've seen you on video, but not in person, so thanks.
You are always welcome.
Yeah, I hope to be back there real soon and continue working with you. Thanks very much.
Sure, it's my pleasure.
Thanks very much for watching. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to please like and subscribe to the Armstrong Institute there on YouTube. And also don't forget to subscribe to our free magazine, Let the Stones Speak. This is our exhibit edition. This is a magazine about biblical archaeology that comes out 6 times per year, available to you wherever you are in the world, absolutely free. Simply go to our website, armstronginstitute.org, and you'll find on the front page a place where you can sign up. You could also email, if you like, an email to letters@armstronginstitute.org. Simply put your name and address, and we'll make sure you get a free subscription.